As our lovely son leaves, let's see if we get some time to chit chat some more on inspiring life lessons with your lovely 5D mystic and to continue a little bit more on our 5D collective. So, with the law of attraction tips, you understood that with you grabbing onto, no, with you gaining awareness of the inner child of you, moving into the inner child adult and being in alignment. So that's the somatic alignment. That's integration of the brain. That's why the 5D collective, functional adults. And the functional adults are any of those who know we have thoughts and emotions, but we don't behave like Cuscos. We're Pachas. And we're Cuscos with Pacha and Pacha in the making. So that can be a divine feminine, a divine masculine. In either case, in all cases, we have divine masculine here and divine feminine here for IHP 5D collective and how we chit chat about things, how I chit chat to you about things. The left is our masculine, the right is our feminine, and that's because I'm IPNB, interpersonal neurobiology informed. I'm finishing up my educational certificate course with Daniel Siegel. That's taking a while because it's a long, nice, in-depth course, but long story short, when we meet non-bilaterally integrated people, it means people who only use that left and they're Cuscos to me. And so when I see those people out there using Jesus' name and the fear-mongering God stuff, well, I have nothing to say except for that's not what I learned in catechism at all. None of it. And God never, ever, ever, in a million years, I'm not a million, 44 years, did I hear or perceive or learn anything of what I'm seeing instead out there is all I'm going to say. So here's where lovely Sadhguru, thank you so much for being here, because true spirituality is all about a life of meaning and connection beyond the solo self, and sciences and spirituality, they do come together, because Dr. Daniel Siegel shares how amazing it is for him to have been invited to conference and how we can all be integrated. Well, not all maybe, but those who cannot, we can support them. But that trauma is healable. Bezel van der Kolk shares that too. So does Janina Fisher. So does Peter Levine. And actually, so does Stephen Porges. And so do a lot more. Patrick McNamara. And there's no demons that possess anyone when nightmare after nightmare, your fear receptor in your embodied brain goes wonky. As your brain is trying to heal from trauma memory, trauma charges, and more than just that, fragmentation, and your body too, FYI. So when one piece unlocks, as Peter Levine shares, the rest unfolds. Which is why any type of spirituality journey we do with a lot of awareness of mental health and mental hygiene, which is why I continue to get educated, and I'm attachment trauma informed, which is why the spirituality retreat that is in the plan and anything that we do with my lovely 5D mystic community will always be with me being aware, do we have a window of welcome to emotions? If we still have a window of tolerance, then we want first good therapy so that you can be aware, what's your self lens? Do we have dissociative identity disorder and disorganized attachment perhaps? Or perhaps do we have borderline personality disorder? Or perhaps do we have narcissism or sociopathy or psychopathy? Which lens do we have? And then we go and get to work with people like a Dr. Daniel Fox. He's an expert on personality disorders. For example, Sadhguru, he's good with the yoga, yes, and his spirituality messages. He does not have the psych education. And when he says things like disregard, well, I beg to differ, but I know what his role is. That's why I'm happy to have Dr. Daniel Siegel in my corner, and I get to learn from him and more of the great attachment trauma information, human beings, because my courses are not done, in addition to adding to my portfolio in time with becoming a meditation teacher, adding that life coach, and really it's all, again, coming together as a community that inspires. So we inspire life. Sadhguru, what the world needs today, I'm going to say when the world, after I'll continue with a Maria quote, but what the world needs today are not religious devotees, but people who are devoted to all life. What the world needs more of are flexible, adaptive, coherent, energized, stable brains that are smart, stable, mature, adaptive, rational, teachable. That's my acronym. And that FACES is Daniel Siegel's. And integration of the brain means you use your left and right mode of the brain. Means that you know that you have an inner child. So when you see Elsa Journey walking around, they will use a lot of words, but they use words as identifiers. You'll notice how rigid they are because they actively use them as if they're truths. While there's no irrefutable facts in your thoughts or emotions, they're your subjective experience. If If you want to talk to me about data, well, I'm going to be able to break it down with you. I don't want to. A functional adult and an empowered woman, I'm not interested in Cusco's. They're boring, not to mention cold, no emotions, no inner child. I am with a person who's not even a person yet. When people get triggered into either mobilization defenses or shutting down, develop elaborate narratives to make sense of what their body is doing. And this is Stephen Porges, PhD. So when people get triggered into either mobilization defenses or into shutting down, they will develop elaborate narratives to make sense of what their body is doing. This is the left mode, will make up stories. And before I continue, remember that you will have learned words at your 2 years of age, because your left mode is not online until you're 2 years of age. So we don't need to talk about energy vampires, dark auras. There's no saga or drama with your twin flames or your soulmates or your oversoul, at least not for the 5D mystics. So once again, the law of attraction for the 5D mystic and spirituality collective is experienced differently, as is the Kundalini awakening, as is your spirituality awakening. And this is why, for those of you who want somebody to walk with you that walk, to continue being yourself, I'm the self-help person. I'm the personal development person. I'm your spirituality support, but that's with you being able to be a person who has a window of welcome to your emotional plane and to all 8 billion and growing people. And that is actually quite important, because fight or flight doesn't always work for us. And this is the whole story underlining trauma. Stephen Porges, underlying trauma. So once again, he's still proving his polyvagal theory. But in the meantime, what we have been able to learn, and I have learned from those who have learned, and they have been doing 30 plus years of research, the data shows no demon possessing anyone. No, what we have is people, there are people who actually did not get to have that luck of the first year of life with secure attachment, so that something sacred that they were looking for, it got lost. They didn't want to lose it. And actively, you know what warms my heart is that Jesus taught me about human suffering and how we are here to turn the cheek and to forgive because people do not know. And Patrick Tiahan, childhood trauma survivor, he shares too. The more dangerous, he says, and that's because he works with childhood trauma survivors. I don't. I work with people who want to do more emotions, more thoughts. They want to be a grown-up, not the laundry stuff. The laundry stuff is Zen master over there for people who are in the spiritual soul aid group. They're the old folk. In fact, they're flatlined. Enlightenment soul age group are not flatlined, not the ones of us who do the bliss and wisdom. The ones who stay on loss and, loss and pain. Yeah, that's a whole different story, whole different group. But long story short, that something sacred is gut-wrenched, torn apart. Where are you, Bezel? Bezel Vanderkolk shares with us that. In fact, I love Bezel. And I love a lot of my lovely, smart human beings, because it's thanks to them that we're here. Like Peter Levine, a very smart strategy, at least in the moment, in dealing with an overwhelming situation is not to be there. There's the gift. That's the gift of dissociation. So people who have clinical dissociation, and that's Sadhguru again, when we bury feelings, we bury them alive. We wind up living with a heart and mind that are filled with landmines, easily triggered when we go through the world. Ron Siegel, Psych Deep. Okay, so I know you're all dying to hear that quote, but the other one of Bezel. Most trauma we see in our offices is interpersonal trauma. It occurs in the context of attachment relationships. When you don't learn self-regulation with a social engagement system, you don't learn that relationships are safe. Ron Siegel again, Psych D. If we can't express or aren't expressing our true feelings, it's not going to be a genuine relationship. And that is exactly why, here's Pat Ogden, traumatized people, even though she says clients, often have trouble regulating by themselves, but they also have trouble seeking others and taking in the support and regulation of others. And so the inspiring life lessons for any one of us today, as people who care about people, there is more and more evidence that dissociation is caused by dysfunctional attachment. You don't have somebody who looks at you and picks you up and responds to you when you are in distress. So you learn to deal with your misery by shutting yourself down. Bezel Vanderkolk. And here's the other one. Traumatized people tend to feel numb and not alive, and they can make themselves feel alive by exposing themselves to the same situations that cause their terror. Every single piece of data shows why people need support. And the people who don't want it, well, they're the same ones who don't know. I find it hard to believe them first 3 years of life. They don't believe in implicit memory, apparently. Fundamentally, every part of the brain is affected by trauma. The right brain lights up more. The left brain is shut down more. The back of the brain is more hyperactive. The front of the brain becomes less active. Bessel van der Kolk again. And here we go. When people are traumatized, certain movements have become unconsciously associated with danger or failure. So when you live in the world of sensory integration, you'll see that most traumatized people get very frozen in their bodies. I haven't found it yet, Bezel. Where are you? I know you're in here. All these lovely quotes. But anyways, the gut wrench. He shares with us how people, when they have trauma, it's stored here and it's felt here. This gut wrench. I continue to want to share it with any of you who are new, but I can't find it. So, important life lessons. I learned from Jesus how to unconditionally love, and I'm proud to share with you all that I have never heard any of the people that taught me about Christ and Christ consciousness for my 5D mystics that are of faith to have shared that we are to not support each other. The people who understand how humans don't choose to have a 1-year-old that has trauma, that is not attached. The people that are aware, a 3-year-old, again, so if you put things into their context, you will know that all of us begin life in a human baby body, and that's about it. It's not a story. And if anything, I learned as a person who was raised with God that people will turn their back on God the minute something awful happens to them. Now that the people who continue to voice a lot of stories, we'll leave that one to the side for another, but they don't create what is faith. They have deviated from the faith that I learned about, which is that we are here to support each other in this world that is full of unknowns, uncertainties, and unwanteds. And that anytime life slaps you in the head, you don't turn your back on God. You don't turn your back on life. This is why true spirituality, true faith, no person will look to any of those of the religious institutions that are dividing us with fear-mongering tactics. The only people who will allow fear and this type of demonization in general to withstand are adaptive children. The adaptive child brain is non-integrated, and it is a child's view of what the grown-up should have done, could have done, would have done. In fact, when you go and hear what Patrick Tiahan shares with his community, he is a healed, again, childhood trauma survivor and a therapist, but he is still a person who works with childhood trauma survivors. And he says to them, you don't have to forgive anyone. What is this business about forgiveness? I understand why he speaks what he speaks, because he knows of those I learned from who say forgiveness is important because that's part of how you completely heal. He is not ready for that. And no person is going to be ready for forgiveness until they've processed all that comes with understanding and grieving. You were denied the capacity to be an innocent 1-year-old child from your body, not from your left mode, from your body. So as long as that body is not ready to forgive the very human beings that is your household that brought to you the shame cycle, that is why, Patrick, great job. Thank you for being out there, because he's there teaching also these same individuals. Don't project your unfinished business and what brokenness came from your home, the unkindness that your home had you become, onto others. You can have healthy self-worth relationships, and you can learn to respect your inner child and become a grown-up of you. So it's as a collective that we come together, 5D mystics and not, to say functional adult, and functional adults, it's awesome. Law of attraction, we'll talk more about that one as the sun leaves. Maybe later on we'll have a late HP show. But law of attraction, our oversoul, all of it is not anything that gets taken away from you. The only people that think anything has ever been taken away from them are the same people who look like the teenagers that I would sit with, and they're like, nobody understands us, nobody understands us. And I was participating. At a certain point, I said, why are you whining, Maria? You have family. They understand you. What is this? It sounds like we're just whining about our homes. We're all different. That's normal. Actually, it's the beauty. You know how boring it would be if we were all the same? Like, seriously. But having genuine relationships is what we want. And that's why IHP, come on over. We got to our 1K, we celebrated it. We then went back down to 998, and we'll get back up to 1K, and eventually we'll get up to more. But as a 5D mystic, what I have to share is that we are 5D as a collective, and it's left and right brainers. So we love to bring our inner child adults and our whole 3-year-old heart. And so we work consistently to become more of the restorative embodiment self, aware you and I, you on your own, me on my own, but then together. And those who are healing their adaptive child patterns and their maladaptive child patterns. When we meet Cuscos, when we meet squirrels, we play nice. They won't know any different. No, we don't tell them that they're following Strombolis, by the way. No, we just talk about it amongst ourselves. And I will make up nicknames for all of these human beings. And if anybody ever spots who they are, I say, I didn't call them by name. You don't know who I'm talking about. Oh, sure, you can give me all you want. Sometimes, well, even if they come and say, but it's that person. You know what? Yeah, so what? You want me to, I'm not going to do a face-off, a lift-off, or whatever they're called. I have nothing to say. They have a different opinion than I do. What's the deal, Cusco? You don't have your own opinions, Cusco? So the only people who like to chime in like that, by the way, are Cuscos. Let me challenge you. You know what a true challenge is? A true challenge is a person who knows romance. A true challenge is a person who knows how to play with the art of the brain. A true challenge, and you see this face, is not people who are uneducated. No, true challenge, not only can you read, you can write, you love life, and you love humans, and you love being here because, you know, that's what life is. It's a gift. And the intellect and the emotions are always up and away. That's why I told you we don't have sagas or dramas with our twin flames or soulmates or our oversoul. We do get surprised, and here's the deal about that. If you are a 5D mystic, that means you love all 8 billion people. You don't have to love Jesus. That part, I grew up with Jesus, so I love Jesus. And it is because of Jesus that I'm here. I love you, Sadhguru, but I love Jesus. I'm going to say more, but that would be not true because the oxytocin gene hormone is why I love consistently. And I'm a polyamory person, so there, and solo. Because I know how to regulate my own nervous system, Sadhguru. I'm an independent 1-year-old. Thanks, Mom, and twin, and my younger sister, but it's really because my twin and I, we would hug each other a lot. So we got enough ventral vagal social engagement. So to me, humans are safe. Plus, I'm the bossy one. So you know, when you're the bossy one, it means you don't always get what you want. But if you try, sometimes you get what you need. I had to share my primary caregiver. That's why it's easy for me to share. No, I can't lose you. Where are you, my pal? Hold on. Hey, I tried to keep you here. Can I get a cord? Whip you into shape? Yes, that's not romantic at all. No, don't use whips. Don't use cord. No. You need to be smart emotionally and mentally with the inner child adult. So no shame button. If you have a shame button, that makes you good boy, good girl. Hey, who are you following? Which one's the Stromboli of yours today? Is it that one or that one? Who's pulling at your string? So if you want to grow empowerment, FYI, this is what I actually am going to conclude with. Empowered, self-empowered human beings, they don't have envy, jealousy, or spite. They can have a relationship with those. They will have created one that expands them. It's a whole different story. And in fact, when they do, they know how to say, this is how it motivates me. So that's it. And they explain it. And then you hear their tone. You're like, cool. Plus, they're a expanding piece of consciousness. When you meet a narrow piece of consciousness, you're going to notice it. It's like strings, guitar strings. The ones that play a nice sound. And then, the ones that are a chord, but they're about to break. Yeah. So what happens when people are trying to pretend to be expanding? Yeah, it's unfortunate. They could use good therapy, like with Janina Fisher. She works with people who have envy, jealousy, and spite, and so do other good therapists, and they share with the human beings. It's normal that you have this. Did you notice your childhood? You didn't get unconditionally loved. So of course, this is what's going to happen when you see your own grandkid actively getting the child stuff that you didn't get. Oh, so I don't have to feel guilty. No, you don't. You can work with it. You have now, through the interaction with the therapist, that person will have been given. This is the psych education. The emotion, validate it, understand it. It comes from your own childhood. Now that you've witnessed it, now that we have talked about it, now that you can welcome it, you can heal it. And it is no longer something that has to arise as a trigger. In fact, you can notice it when it arises and say, thank you for showing up. I know that I didn't get the honor to have this, but I'm so happy that I get to see it and that I get to vicariously get to see and then get to be a part. And in time, that's why trauma is healable and no one's broken. And again, that's something sacred. It was lost because of not secure attachment, but it can be regained by the person who's motivated to become their whole inner child adult. And then if you also have the lovely clairs and your mystic, you get to have even more fun. So come on over and we'll have some more episodes. I might get to work with the lighting, see if I can get us some more light, and we'll be back to chit chat. In the meantime, thank you for stopping by. Like, share, and subscribe if you would like. And if you know anybody who wants to join the 5D collective, and so whether it's for spirituality, awakening journey, if it's for mysticism journey, if it's for inner growth journey, self-help, personal development, all of the things, and bountiful and more. If you want to inquire about one-to-one, write me an email, and we also have a masterclass in the making. So with no further ado, or however the words go, thank you again for stopping by.